Hello everyone, I am welcoming you all to the session 1 of Unit 4 Software Engineering Design. Organization of this session: Introduction to Design, Design Concepts. Under that we have first one coupling, second one cohesion, third one open loop principle. Introduction to Design. In the previous sessions, we have discussed about the software architecture. The result of the software architecture is the internal programming structure of the software that we are going to develop. After getting the internal structure of the program or the software we are developing, we should start designing a software. Now we'll see how to proceed with this design. Software design is a process to transform user requirements into a suitable form. So it is a process where we are converting the user requirements into a suitable form that is needed for the coding. This software design is also sets an framework or the skeletal work for building an actual system or a software. Software design is the first step in SDLC, that is Software Design Lifecycle, which moves from the problem domain to a solution domain. So till that we'll be having an SRS. From the SRS we have defined an architecture. So these are all only defining a problem of the software which we are going to develop. But in the design step we are moving or we are transiting from the problem domain to a solution domain. Now we'll see how to proceed with this designs. So this software design can be done in the two levels. That is, first level, it decides which modules are needed for the system specifications and the way it's interconnected. This is called as module design or high level design. In the first level we are choosing or we are deciding which are the required modules that are needed for the development of the software. That is why it is called as an high level design or the module design. Second level, it is called as detailed design or logical design. Why we call it as a logical design means it contains a detailed description of the logic or the processing logic of the modules that we are defining. Along with the logic, we are also defining the data structures that are needed for the implementation of these modules. Design concepts. The most popular design concepts among all the existing is modular design concepts. Now we'll see why we call this it as a modular. Our system is considered modular if it consists of discrete modules in which each module can be implemented separately. So here why we call it as a modular means the entire system that we are going to develop is divided into a discrete or a separate modules where all these modules can be implemented separately. Since there is no much interconnection between these modules, we call modularity is a desirable property. With this modularity, our debugging is very simple. We can isolate the system problem and that we are resulting into a suitable modules. So modularity is the best among all the design concepts existing. Modularization criteria. So there are three criterias. First one coupling, second one cohesion, third one open loop principle. We'll go through one by one. Coupling. Let us define coupling. Coupling between the modules is the strength of interconnections between the modules. It says how well it is interconnected between the modules. We can easily say highly coupled modules have the strong interconnections between them and loosely coupled modules have the weak interconnections. And independent modules have no interconnections among themselves. While designing, we should consider that the coupling should be less between the two modules. So we should think that there should be a low coupling among the modules. Now we'll see what are all the factors that are affecting the coupling. The first factor is the complexity of the interface across the modules. That is, since we are developing different modules in the software, at the integration level, we need all the modules to be interconnected with the help of the interface. So the complexity of the interface will also a factor that affects between the coupling between the modules. And the second factor we have is the type of interconnection among the modules. What is the kind of interconnection that existing between the modules? And the third factor is a type of the information that can flow between the module. That is either the data or the control. Usually there will be a two type of information. It can be a data type or it can be a control type. Let us see this with the help of this representation. Here we'll say whether it is a low coupling or a high coupling and the interface complexity and the type of the connection between the modules and the type of the communication. If you see the horizontal, there will be a low coupling where the interface complexity is simple and we are having the communication model by name and the type of the communication is data. As I said, there is two kinds of information that can flow. One is a data and another is a control. Whenever there is an interface only with the data communication, it will be having a lowest degree of coupling. That is what we prefer in the designs. Coming to that, next we have a highest coupling in the complicated, obscure or a complicated interface connectivity. When there is a complications in the interface, obviously there will be a high coupling, and the type of interconnections we have is to the internal elements, and that leads to a hybrid, and this gives a highest coupling that we usually not prefer in our designs. To generalize with this, so the data communication will be having a lowest level of coupling and the hybrid will be having a highest level of coupling. We always prefer low coupling in our design. Types of coupling in the object-oriented systems. The first one we have is interaction coupling. Interaction coupling occurs due to the methods of a class invoking the methods of the other classes. As we all know that object-oriented system mainly consisting of the class, and all the things will be accomplished with the help of the objects with respect to these classes. So interaction coupling usually occurs when we have a methods of one class invoking the methods of the other class. Component coupling. Component coupling refers to the interaction between the two classes. Since the different modules will be having a different classes and these classes will be having a different methods and the different objects, so component coupling mainly refers to the interaction existing between the two classes of the same type or of the different types. The third one we have inheritance coupling. Inheritance coupling is due to the inheritance relationship between the classes. We all know that inheritance means there will be a base class. From the base class we are deriving a subclass. While deriving the subclass, we can inherit all the properties of the base class, and we can also add the new properties to the subclass which is needed. We are not disturbing any of the things in the base class. We are only inheriting all the methods, attributes and properties of the base class and using the same in the subclass. So when there is any such inheritance relationship between these classes, we can find the inheritance coupling. The next modularization, that is second modularization criteria we have is cohesion. Cohesion of a module represents how tightly the internal elements of a module are bound to one another. It means how tightly the internal elements of each module or functions are bounded to each other. It says how strongly it is functionally oriented. So generally saying, we always prefer high level of cohesion in the design. So the cohesion gives a relative functional strength among all the elements of the module. So we always prefer the strongest strength among the elements of the module. We also have levels of cohesion. We have 7 different levels. Under the first one we have coincidental cohesion. Second one logical cohesion. Third one temporal cohesion. Fourth one procedural cohesion. Fifth one communicational cohesion. Sixth one sequential cohesion. Seventh one functional cohesion. Here we can see coincidental cohesion is the lowest level of cohesion and the functional cohesion is the highest level of cohesion. We'll see in detail one by one. Coincidental cohesion, as the name itself indicates, there is no prior connection between these elements of the module. It occurs when there is no meaningful relationship among the elements of a module. So it is purely a coincidental, means there is no meaningful connection, only it is connected due to some the coincidental action. Logical cohesion. It occurs if there is some logical relationship between the elements of a module. It clearly says there should be some logical relationship. All the elements will be having some logical relationship. Then only a logical cohesion can occur. Temporal cohesion. In this cohesion, elements are related with respect to the time and are executed together temporarily. As the name itself indicates, it's a temporary cohesion, or a temporarily all the elements in the module are temporarily connected to act or to execute some action. For example, we can say that initialization, cleanup and termination are temporarily bounded, means to perform these actions they are connected. After the perform of all these activities, all these elements are again become separated. That is only for a particular action they are connected to each other, or they are related to a particular time. Next we have is procedural cohesion. In this cohesion, module contains elements that belong to a common procedural unit. That means the elements in the module are following some same procedure. Suppose if we say that the procedure may be an addition of number, subtraction of number, so all the modules will be belonging to, or all the elements in the modules are belonging to a same procedural unit. Communicational cohesion. As the name itself indicates, the elements here are communicationally bounded to each other. That means the elements of the modules operate on the same input or the same output data. They are communicationally connected to each other. Sequential cohesion. It occurs when all the elements are together in a module and the output of one forms the input to another. The meaning of the word sequential is one by one, as in the case all the elements are connected one by one in the module, and the output of the first element will serve as an input to the next element, or output of one module is an input to the other module. Functional cohesion. It occurs when all the elements of the module are performing a single function. That is, if all the elements are working towards the single function or performing towards the single function, then we call it as a functional cohesion. In the cohesion, this is a most suitable or most preferable cohesion is a functional cohesion. Cohesion in the object-oriented systems. We have three kinds: method cohesion, class cohesion, inheritance cohesion. We'll see one by one. Method cohesion. It focuses on why the different code elements of a method are together within the method. As we know that there will be a different classes, and the classes will be in turn having the methods and the elements. This method cohesion can occur and says why these different code in the elements are togetherly connected within the method. Class cohesion. It focuses on why different attributes and methods are together in this class. As it says by the name, it's a class cohesion. There will be a different attributes and the methods in the class, and it clearly focuses why they are together in a particular class. Inheritance cohesion. It focuses on the reason why classes are together in a hierarchy. As we know, in the inheritance, there will be a different hierarchy of classes as a base class, subclass, subclass 1, subclass 2, subclass 3. It clearly says why these classes are together and which properties are being inherited together from the base classes to the subclasses. And the third modularization criteria we have is open-closed principle. This principle is given by a scientist called Bernard Mayer. He says software entities should be open for the extension but closed for modification. According to this principle or this rule, the software modules or the entities that we are developing should be always open for the extension. As we all know, the developed software or the module, we should keep on changing or keep on adding the new facilities or the new actions that are needed. So it should always be open for the extension but closed for the modification. Means we should not alter the old code. If you want to add a new feature or a new criteria to the software, or you want to add the extension features to the software, you should always try doing it by adding a new code rather than altering the old code. If you keep on altering the old code, definitely there will be a chances of getting more errors and the quality of the software will also be compromised. So according to this principle, the module or the software which we are developing should always be open for any kind of extensions in terms of the features or in terms of performance, but closed for the modification. Means we can add the new features by adding the new code but not again altering the same old code. Let us explain this principle by taking one example. So here there is one client and there is one printer. We name it as a printer 1. We'll see what exactly this application does. An application in which a client object interacts with the printer object. There will be a one client object, there will be a one printer object. Each time the client object which interacts with the printer object and calls the necessary methods for completing the printing needs. So here we have two objects. One is a client, another is a printer 1. Suppose if you want to add a new feature, or if the client want to access a new printer named printer 2, how can we do this? Obviously, if the client wants to access to the new printer called printer 2, we have to add a code, or we have to change the access to the client. But according to the open closed principle, the client should always be closed against the modification. Instead of that, we can do the extension by adding a new code. If we do the modification here, the client is not closed against the change. If we change, it is not again closed against the change. So what we can do is, instead of creating another object called the printer 2, what we can do is we can implement by using a abstract of the class printer. Instead of directly creating a printer, you create a abstract class of the printer. With the help of this abstract class, we can also define the interface of the printer. With the interface, we can define all the methods of the printer object. So if you could see in the diagram, there is a client and there will be a one main printer object. With that printer object, we are creating a two interfaces or a two abstract classes or a two subclasses, printer 1 and the printer 2. So what it happens here is we are creating two subclasses, that is printer 1 and the printer 2, so that it is following the open loop principle, that we are not modifying anything that related to the code of the client. Instead of that, we are modifying the printer object by creating a abstract class of it, by creating a interface of it, so that there will be no modification in the client. This subclass will be accessed by the client based upon its need. With this, we can say that we are implementing the open loop principle, that we are not modifying any codes of the client. Instead of that, we are changing or altering the new code by not modifying any of the old code. With this, we studied about the three concepts, that is coupling, cohesion and the open loop principle. In generally, what we can say is, when we are developing a software, there should be a low coupling between the modules and there should be a high cohesion between the functions or the elements of the module. So cohesion should be coupling should be as low as possible and cohesion should be as high as possible. So the most desirable property of the design we have is coupling should be as less as possible and cohesion should be as high as possible, so that it leads to a good software. With these ideas, now we'll discuss few multiple choice questions. The first question we have is, software is divided into separately named and addressable components is called as option 1 software, option B cohesion, option C module, option D none of the above. As we all know that we are not developing a software as a one shot product. We are dividing these softwares into a different modules, where all these modules are mostly independent each other, so that there will be no much interconnection between the modules. If there is much interconnection between the modules, a change in one module will always reflect the change in the other module. So the best suitable answer for this question is option C module. Second question, software design allows the creation of software which is easy to integration, testing and the maintenance. Option A true, option B false. We know that in the design we are creating a software which is also helpful for the integration, testing and the maintenance. So the best suitable option here is A true. Third question, dash is an indication of the relative interdependence among the modules. Option A cohesion, option B coupling, option C modularity, option D cohesion and the coupling. We know that coupling is an indication of the relative interdependence among the modules. So the best option is coupling, but in the design we always prefer less interdependence among the modules. Question number 4. Independent modules are easier to maintain and test because option A code modification is limited, option B error propagation is reduced, option C reusable modules are possible, D all of the above. We always prefer the modules to be independent or less interdependent, because whenever we do the modification in the one module will not be affected in the other module. So code modification is limited. And error propagation or passing the error from one module to the another module is also reduced. Since these modules are independent, we can also reusable at the any point. So the best suitable option here is D. Fifth question we have, dash is an indication of the relative functional strength of the module. Option A, cohesion. Option B, coupling. Option C, modularity. Option D, cohesion and coupling. We know that we always prefer a higher relative functional strength of the module, and it is the property we have is cohesion. So the best option here is cohesion. We always prefer higher level of cohesion between the elements of the functions or any of the modules. Question number 6. Functional cohesion means. Option A, operations are part of single functional task and are placed in same procedures. Option B, all operations that access the same data are defined within one class. Option C, all operations that access the data from outside the module. Option D, none of the above. We know that functional cohesion is the elements of the modules are concentrating on a same function or a single function that will be following the same procedure. So it doesn't come under the any access of the data or from inside or within. It mainly concentrates that all the elements are performing a single functional task. That is the best suitable answer here is option A. Seventh question. Desirable form of cohesion is logical cohesion, functional cohesion, procedural cohesion, communicational cohesion. We know that since there should be a strong functional relationship between the elements of the module, the most preferable form of cohesion is functional cohesion. So the option here is functional cohesion. Question number 8. Design patterns are not applicable to object-oriented software. Option A, true. Option B, false. False, because design patterns are also applicable to the object-oriented software. Question number 9. Lowest level of cohesion is A, logical cohesion. Option B, functional cohesion. Option C, procedural cohesion. Option D, coincidental cohesion. We know option is D, because coincidental cohesion, there will be no prior connection between the elements of the modules. Only because of some incident or coincident there will be a relation between the elements of the module. So we call coincidental cohesion as a lowest level of cohesion. Question number 10. Open loop principle states. Option A, software entities should be open for extension and modification. Option B, software entities should not open for extension and for modification. Option C, software entities should be open for extension but closed for modification. Option D, none of the above. We all know that option C is the answer. That is, software entities should be open for the extension but closed for the modification. It should be open for the extension by adding the new features or by adding the new extensions to it, but that should be done by adding a new code but not altering to the existing code. So the best option here is option C. With this, we are concluding the session 1 with the knowledge of why we need the design, how we can start with the design. that is with the first level design and the second level design. We also covered the topics like modularization criteria, that is coupling, cohesion and the open loop principle. In the software design, we always prefer low coupling and the highest cohesion, and we always prefer to implement the open loop principle because it allows the modification. It doesn't allows the modification but allows the extension. Thank you.